So here's something that's gonna sound a little weird at first. If you want to drastically improve or speed up your art progress, you should probably start by fixing your handwriting. And maybe that sounds completely unrelated, but once I explain the link, I think you'll start to see it everywhere. Like a lot of my viewers are still in school, right? Like in college or recently out of it at least. And even though like pretty much every student has a laptop now in school, I think you can all agree that we write a lot when it comes to our school years. Like we write when studying for the exams, during the exams, you scribble stuff left and right to take notes, right? During class, when you do math, science exercises in class, it's all handwritten. And all of this adds up to hours and hours of pen on paper writing every week for many years. And here's what popped in my head one day. Every one of those moments is basically drawing practice in disguise, right? It's the same hand, it's the same motor skills, the same fundamentals, really. We just don't typically count it as drawing practice. And with that in mind, there's something that's somewhat concerning. Maybe like every generation writes less by hand than the one before it. Like your grandparents wrote everything by hand, right? They didn't have computers. Your parents probably wrote way more than you did because computers came in way later in their lives, and you're writing more than the generation that's coming up behind you because, you know, they've had phones in their hands ever since they were like 2 months old. So all that like hidden motor skill practice that older artists maybe got for free just from living a normal life, going through school, well, that's shrinking, right? And pretty fast, which might explain what I've noticed with a lot of younger students struggling with line confidence, even though they've had, you know, arguably better tutorials than all previous generations. So as their tools got better, their hidden practice almost disappeared. So how much is handwriting actually affecting your drawing skills? No, really. Well, it turns out it's a lot more than you think. And that's cool in a way because you can actually use that knowledge to your advantage to get better at drawing faster. Because if most people are losing all of that hidden practice, well, the ones who hold on to it kind of pull ahead by default. And it doesn't even require adding more time to your day, right? It's just about being a little bit more mindful, like deliberate when you write. So today I'm gonna break down how to actually turn your handwriting into stealthy art practice, and also what secrets your handwriting style reveals about your actual art skills. Let's get into it. All right, so the core idea. Drawing and writing are basically the same physical activity. You're holding a tool, you're moving your hand across a surface in specific patterns, you're trying to make lines that read cleanly, usually. So the motor skills overlap almost entirely, and the only real difference is what the lines are supposed to represent at the end. And because you've been writing your whole life, often longer than you've been drawing for most people, well, your handwriting is basically a snapshot of every default habit your hand has built up over time. So the way you hold the pen, the way you control pressure, how consistent your strokes are, how straight you can keep a line, well, all of that has been training silently in the background ever since you were 5 years old. Then you sit down to draw and you wonder why your art doesn't feel as clean or as confident as it should. Well, your hand is just doing what it's always done, right? The habits don't switch off when you switch tasks between handwriting and drawing. And the good news is the reverse is also true. So if you start being intentional about your handwriting, even by just paying a little more attention while you write normally, well, all of that translates directly into your drawing. And you're not even adding practice time, right? You're just upgrading the practice that you're already doing without realizing it. Look at the handwriting, if you can find it, of pretty much any pro artist, and it's almost always distinct, clean, stylish. And that's obviously not a coincidence, right? Their hand has been trained for so long to make confident, intentional lines that even when they're just scribbling like your grocery list or whatever, the muscle memory kicks in. Like every line they put down on paper is an occasion to create something that's aesthetic, you know, whether it's a drawing or just text. Now, there are a few specific things in your handwriting that translate directly to drawing skills. And once you start looking for them, you'll see exactly where your art is like bottleneck, like where it suffers the most. And the cool part is that once you can spot them, fixing them doesn't really require you to do any extra practice. You can basically just be more mindful of them when you write normally. And over time, it'll carry over to your drawing magically. So the first one is consistency between repeated forms. Like, look at how you write the same letter twice. Write out the word apple and look at the two P's. Are they identical? In most cases, if you're not really paying attention, they're probably not. Like, one will be a little taller, the other one will lean differently, whatever. Like, the loops are different size. And well, that same exact skill comes up constantly in drawing. Like drawing identical ellipses as the base for a cylinder maybe, or repeating shapes in a pattern. Even drawing from reference is really just trying to replicate the same shape that you're seeing, which isn't really that different from trying to write the same letter the same way, twice in a row. So when you're writing, just try to make your letters more consistent. That's free repetitions on a skill that directly helps your drawings. The second one is drawing straight without guides. So when you can, try drawing on paper without guidelines. And when you do, does your line or text tilt up? Does it curve down at the end? For most people, the answer is probably yes. And this is a very similar skill as drawing like the edges of a box maybe, or like the edges of a square, or drawing the horizon line in your drawing. Like anytime you need a straight line in a drawing, you're relying on the same muscles that keep your handwriting level. Now, the third one is spatial estimation. Have you ever started writing a word at the edge of a page and then you just run out of room like halfway through? So you have like to squish all the letters, or maybe like written something way bigger than you meant to. Well, that's a failure of spatial estimation. And it's the same exact skill as composition. Like when you start a drawing, you need to know how much room your subject will take on the canvas, right? Before you commit. So when you write, try to plan ahead. Estimate how much space your sentence is gonna take before you start, so you don't have to squish letters in at the end of the line, to fit it all in. Now, the fourth one is readability and style consistency. So look at a paragraph of your own writing. Is every letter readable on its own? Or do some blur into shapes that you can only decode from context? Is the style consistent across the page, or does your writing change halfway through? Well, the same thing happens in drawing. Like some artists' work will feel unified and intentional, and others will feel like maybe done by multiple different artists. So whenever you write something, commit to a style and try to stick with it. Be intentional about the way you're writing. Make every letter readable on its own. And honestly, that's like the whole technique. So pay attention to those four things while you write, and you're basically going to be, warming up the exact same skills that you need for line art, construction, composition. So if you don't feel like drawing one day for some reason, well, it's okay. Maybe instead you can just write a to-do list for the following day, or like write down some ideas for a future drawing. But just do it mindfully. And just to be specific here, I personally think that the best practice is to write in all caps, like no cursive, because capitals are made of very clear straight lines, C curves, S curves, which are basically foundational shapes of every drawing. And if you do that daily, it'll add up really fast, and you're not adding any time to your day, right? You're just basically upgrading the practice that you're already doing. Now, this handwriting hack is one of those small fundamentals that compound a lot over time, but it's still just one piece. So if you want to seriously level up the whole picture, like the construction part, anatomy, perspective, color theory, the whole foundation, actual pros are built on, well, that's exactly what my complete art education program is for. It's the sponsor of this video, Art School for Digital Artists. It's 30 different classes split in 10 terms, structured from beginner basics to pro level work. You get weekly assignments, a Discord community of thousands of students, and to celebrate passing the 32,000 registered student milestone, the entire program is 30% off for a little while longer, until the end of the month only. And I don't want you to miss out on this if you've had your eyes on it. So the link will be down in the video description. So if you want a structured path instead of like guessing what to practice next, well, this is the best deal you'll find on the program until the end of the year. So check the link below, it'll answer all your questions. Now with all this, I think there's one quick caveat, and it's bad handwriting doesn't mean you're doomed as an artist. There are many pros out there with messy handwriting who still make incredible work, right? Like painters who barely use line work at all, or just artists that use rough, sketchy lines as a style choice. So what matters here is whether the messiness is a choice or a crutch. If you can draw a clean, confident line whenever you want, but you choose sketchy because that's your style, then that's great, right? But if your hand literally can't make clean, intentional marks when you need them, that's more of a problem. And mindful writing practice is the cheapest, fastest way to fix it. Especially if you're younger and you're still a student, practicing this stuff every day, regardless if you want it or not. And of course, behind all this, the real goal is control over your lines. You're already practicing drawing every time you write, so might as well practice it well. Especially since the world is writing less and less every year, the artists who keep the hidden practice going are the ones that will undeniably have an edge. And if you want to take this a step further, you should definitely watch my video where I give you 20 of my top drawing exercises to take basically what we talked about today to the next level. The link will be here on screen in just a second. I'll see you over there. Click the link now.